In reverse, there's no payment. So there's a lot of stipulations and there's a lot of conditions to keep this loan, and then it works differently. What we find is that reverse mortgage borrowers stop opening their mail because there's no new information. And sometimes that leads to problems. And as a reverse specialist, you've got to understand the problems that could be coming because of that and a bunch of other things.
Welcome to Get Real 411, the podcast where real experts give real advice on all things real estate. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Brad.
Join us as we explore real estate successes and pitfalls through the eyes of our esteemed guests.
Now let's get real. Super excited today for our interviewee, but I do want to start by saying I miss my partner today. Jamie Kavanaugh's out sick. We didn't want to postpone this interview because we're both so excited about it. So today we welcome Christina Harmes Hika, CRMP, and she's going to explain what that means. But she is also recently the division president of Reverse Loan Solutions. That is a division of AmeriFund. So we're super excited to have you today. And I keep saying we, but it's really me at this point. I'm super excited to have you. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation to learn more about you, learn more about what you've done to get where you're at today as this well-known coach in the industry of reverse mortgages, and then what the future looks like for you. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited to get on here too. I mean, it's kind of been a dream of mine to finally get on your guys' podcast.
Awesome. So why don't we start with what is a CRMP?
Oh yeah. So crump,
Yeah.
CRMP. So a certified reverse mortgage professional. There's only about 200 of us in the country. So it's the highest designation that you can get as a reverse loan officer. You have to have 50 reverse mortgages closed, like specifically reverse mortgages, been in the industry 3 to 5 years. You get a letter of recommendation, and then you've got to pass, you've got to do certain study work, about 12 units, and then you've got to pass this grueling test. And the test has a 25% pass rate. So it is no joke.
Wow.
It's about more than just the sales process, more than just the origination. You got to understand the counseling, understand servicing, really a holistic test.
And what's the entity that you get this, you do the testing through and you get the designation from?
Yeah, so it's through the NRMLA, which is the National Reverse Mortgage Lenders Association, and that's the industry organization that that kind of represents reverse mortgage and handles. It's an FHA product, so they handle a lot of the communication from the industry to the government because it is a government-backed program.
Got it. Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, you explained this to me once before, and I thought, wow, that is a lot of work, and which explains why there's only about 200 in the nation. But that really does set you apart from just about everybody else in the reverse mortgage world. So I'm going to take a step back because when you and I first met, you came aboard, you came to AmeriFund. We really hadn't had much interaction. And then when we started about building this division of the company, you came in for the first time when I was here and we met in person and just had a great connection. I was so excited after that meeting. But you were surprised of my experience in reverse mortgages.
It
And
was.
you were, because I had been doing reverse mortgages since the 90s. And it was a different game then, right? And there was a period of time even previous to when I really started doing them that I would refer them to somebody that was a specialist, and they were able to pay a referral fee. It was a legitimate thing to do. And so I had put my parents in a reverse mortgage at one point, but I had done dozens of these, I didn't specialize in it by any means. I had done dozens, but I was always passionate about it because every person I put in a reverse mortgage, every couple really needed it, and there was nothing else better for them, and it changed their life. So for you to come into AmeriFund now and build this division of the company, Reverse Loan Solutions, I am extremely excited about that. And I definitely want to get to your vision of it. I want to get to, everything about what you want to do right now, what you see in the future. But let's take the clocks all the way back to Christina getting into mortgages. How did you get into mortgages, and what got you to where you're at today?
Yeah. So I want to talk more about how unique you are as a person who's done reverse in the past and has this vision, but we'll get to that. Okay. So my dad was a mortgage broker. And when I was about 16, I was scooping ice cream at Baskin Robbins and babysitting and surfing a lot. That's kind of what I was doing. And
This was
summer
about
came
6 years
around.
ago.
Yeah, right. Summer came around and he goes, "You need a real job. You're going to come work for me." And so there started my career at 16 years old. And so I say to people, I've been in this industry 20 years, and they're like, "How?" So I just gave away my age, which
There
that's
you go.
fine. I don't care. But yeah, so I started working for him. I did various other jobs along the way, but I got really into reverse mortgages when I was probably about 24, 25. And I started working full time in the mortgage industry. I'd always been kind of part time through college. I got a degree from SDSU in finance and econ, so it merged well, the learnings that I had, and then the career that was the opportunity in front of me. But my first reverse mortgage, and you'll hear this from other originators, my first reverse mortgage really, really changed my life. And I had been a first time buyer specialist, and, I was a realtor and a mortgage person. So I've brought experience in this industry. And handing someone the keys to their first home is amazing. Like, it's so exciting. It's their lifelong dream. You're the one facilitating it. I didn't think there was anything better until I had my first reverse mortgage closing. And at that closing, the husband and the wife, the whole time, they were kind of argumentative. They were really skeptical. They'd gotten into a financial position where they didn't have anyone else to rely on. It was just the two of them. He was in a health condition where they were both afraid he was going to pass and leave her in a very bad financial situation. And she had been afforded a very nice lifestyle for most of her life, and she wasn't included in the finances. So the entire time, it was the male taking the lead, the husband, and the wife was just kind of like very fearful. Well, at the end, when we actually signed the documents at the closing table, I used to attend every closing. She hugged me and she wouldn't let go. And I realized and she was this small little lady. And as I'm hugging her, I realized she was crying. And it was good tears. It was happy tears. And she finally like let me go a little bit. And I could see in her face just absolute relief that what we did, we paid off a big IRS debt that they had. We made their mortgage payment entirely go away. We set up a line of credit as an emergency fund, and then they still got a monthly payment for as long as they live in the home, which for her, if she lived out him, that could be a very long time. She was in really, really good health. That thing doesn't stop. That payment
Mhm.
doesn't stop. So it was just for me, it was life changing because it was such an emotional thing. And then it was also such a versatile, flexible uh, fit. I'd never done a mortgage that could do all of what this reverse mortgage thing did. I was hooked
Yeah.
day one.
Look, I totally understand that, and remember, there, a lot of our audience, comes not only from real estate but knows mortgage, or maybe they originator and there's in some form or format part of mortgage, um, but they've never done a reverse mortgage, and it seems mysterious to them, and they might know some basics, but as soon as somebody creates an argument about why not to do it, they don't know how to respond. So here you are, you got into the mortgage business, mainly forward mortgages, and then you get this opportunity to do a reverse. So that was your first deal. How did you go from all the knowledge about forward mortgages to, okay, I'm going to tackle this first reverse mortgage and kind of learn it along the way? Like, what was that transition? Because I think a lot of people could relate to that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I had two incredible mentors. I had my dad, but to be fair, this was only his second reverse mortgage.
Mm,
So it became very apparent to us as a team, we need to learn this thing and learn it well. And then I had a big mentor of mine, Monty Howard. And between the two of them, I mean, my dad had been in the mortgage industry forever. So there was just such a deep knowledge and understanding the market. And then Monty Howard, who has since passed, he had been doing reverse mortgages for a very long time and he was an industry leader. And between the two of them, I just got to watch these amazing people talk about all the application. And then I really invested heavily in the courses, right? You have to learn this stuff. I was not afraid to read guidelines. I have read 3 lenders' guidelines in full. Like we're talking
Mm,
160 to 250 pages.
that's a lot.
Yeah, but it gives you a deep understanding.
Were the courses that you took through Nirmala?
No, at that point they were actually through our lenders.
Oh,
And
okay.
and it was a very rocky experience and some of our viewers may have this experience too. It's the lender courses are a lot of the time very episodic and it's very topical. And so you'll watch one and you'll kind of get an understanding of like what a non-borrowing spouse is and how that works. And then you watch another and you'll kind of get an understanding of what the index is and how that works. And it didn't bring it all together.
Mm.
It was a very messy, messy, prolonged learning process.
Do you remember who those lenders were at the time that had those courses?
Yeah, and pretty much a lot of the same names we see today.
Are they?
Some of them have gone out of business, unfortunately. But the lenders that we work with, do you actually want me to name them?
Sure. I mean, look, I think that if there's originators out there that really want to understand this, one of the ways to do that is to know who the players are. And
Yeah,
then we'll get to, where you saw the gaps there, you filled in by becoming a coach. So, I want to bring that up as well because I think that could be a great resource for those that would like to get into reverse. But first, yeah, who are they? And who are the ones that are still around? Who are the ones that disappeared?
yeah.
I think we just experienced a little bit of a turnover recently. So maybe
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so back then, Finance of America was not Finance of America Reverse was not Finance of America Reverse. It was a company called Urban, and they were one of the market leaders. They had great training. Finance of America is what they turned into, and they're still my number one. Like they are a great lender.
Mhm.
Back then, it was also AAG had some courses that were helpful. Surprisingly Liberty, which I don't use them today, but back then they were a bit of a different makeup. RMF, who AAG and RMF, we just saw leave the space,
Yep.
unfortunately. But those were kind of the main players. And Mutual of Omaha is a player today, but they weren't back then. And
So,
Longbridge too.
so, so I guess a follow-up to the AAG thing is what's Tom Selleck going to do now?
Oh, I think Tom will be just
You
fine.
think he'll be okay? For those of you that know, I mean, he was one of the big celebrities that was on the commercials, the AAG commercials. But yeah, so interesting because, like you say, the lenders have changed a little bit, and even the acquisition of Urban, right, into Finance of America, which really is the number one, the leading wholesale lender as far as volume goes. Um, but the resources are still there, right? The training, they
Yes.
still offer that? Okay.
Yes.
So how did you wind up seeing this gap, this kind of coaching training gap, and get into that? And tell us about kind of the timing of that, how long you've been doing it, what you do.
Yeah, so I started I started at C2, which is a big brokerage. And what that really taught me was this is a large forward base of loan officers, and they had the access to do reverse mortgages, but the volume wasn't there. And so very early on in my career, Monty Howard actually passed away and my dad and I were put in his place. So it was very it was a tough time for sure, but it was also a time where we were looking around going, okay, we don't know what we're doing. How do we build a division? And a lot of the other industry leaders, people who are in division head spaces in forward companies, that's kind of my bread and butter, right? Because I started on the forward side. They mentored us very openly, very freely. So I have been mentored by some of the absolute top of the industry for time. And I think they thought we weren't a threat.
Yeah.
They were just very freely giving us information. At that time, volume for that company was just next to nothing. And so we learned, the different practices, what was the best way to do it at a forward company. And what we learned along the way, or at least what I learned, was that forward loan officers approach reverse like they approach other loans. And that's a huge misstep. And unfortunately, the AEs on the reverse, so reverse didn't come from forward. Reverse was its own little thing. And a lot of the underwriters, a lot of the reverse staff were at reverse only companies, our wholesale lenders. And a lot of the AEs didn't understand the forward side. Prior to 2014, you didn't have to qualify really. If you had enough equity, if
Yep.
you had a pulse, let's get you into a reverse mortgage.
It,
And so
it
they
was
didn't
really just age and equity. That's
pretty
really it,
much
right? I mean,
property type.
yeah, but there was no calculation of the other expenses, and we can talk a little bit about that sort of thing. But it was really that it was 62 or over, and do you have enough equity?
Right. Yeah. And so, but then the mortgage works so differently. It is much more like an insurance product than it is a mortgage. Now, it happens to be a mortgage, but it follows different rules the whole time you get a mortgage, right? If you get a VA, a conventional, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, if you get a loan like that, once it's put in place, it pretty much works the same, right? Pay your mortgage every month. Maybe it has escrows where it's taking title and escrow. And it's a pretty smooth process. You got to pay it 30 days late. In reverse, there's no payment. So there's a lot of stipulations and there's a lot of conditions to keep this loan, and then it works differently. What we find is that reverse mortgage borrowers stop opening their mail because there's no new information. And sometimes that leads to problems. And as a reverse specialist, you've got to understand the problems that could be coming because of that and a bunch of other things and
So would
prepare
you
your
say,
client.
is it fair to say then that your idea of like this gap of information that was out there wasn't necessarily the book learning and courses you could take from the lenders to learn the guidelines, to learn kind of the brick and mortar of it? It was beyond that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
what's the persona of this borrower? What what are they thinking when they're considering this? What are their concerns? What happens afterward? So is that all encompassed in kind of your coaching that you do now?
Absolutely. What I found was the originators would take these courses, they would have the topical knowledge, and they would still be totally lost, right? It's kind of like after we all took our NMLS. You take your NMLS, and you're like, I'm going to go be an originator. And you don't actually know how to do it. Somebody has to teach you the how. And that's
Mhm.
where I come in. How do you take these concepts and these rules and these things they have to do and explain that in simple terms in a thorough, all encompassing way where you actually get the sale done?
And
You
help
end up,
them to be comfortable with the decision making process,
oh, yeah.
right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I could see that being a big gap, and why you'd want to take that on, especially with your knowledge and passion for reverse. So how long have you been a coach? How long have you had your coaching business?
Well, I've been a mentor a lot longer. So
Okay.
I've been a mentor for Reverse for about 10 years now.
Hmm.
And I've been a coach for, where are we, 2023? For 3 years. I
Okay.
started the coaching company. Um, I just got to be kind of the go to for Brokers Are Better group for reverse mortgages. And this one month in 2020, I'd already been doing everything virtually. So I was teaching loan officers how to do things virtually. This one month, at the end of the month, I had taken so many 15-minute pick my brain phone calls. I was exhausted, and I also didn't make any money that month.
Yeah.
And I also didn't really do a great job of teaching the loan officers I had talked to how to go about this, because a 15-minute call isn't going to do it. And there were gaps in what I could point them to. There was just not enough how to do your job as an originator. And so a course was born. And
Yeah.
from that, the course had massive success very quickly. And then we created the whole coaching company.
Yeah, and feedback that I've heard from people, and I'm sorry, I haven't taken your course, but I've heard that it's very robust. So you really took the time to really create a curriculum that somebody could follow and really become an expert, right?
I did. And what you see in the industry sometimes is it looks like the slides are copied from each other. I didn't have slides I copied. I went, okay, what are they going to need to learn now? What are they going to need to learn next? And just flow. And so some of my language is very different. And
Okay.
I think it bridges the gap from forward to reverse a lot easier.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, plain English, that's a forward originating because I mean, frankly, it probably is mostly designed for somebody transitioning from forward to reverse or adding that into their repertoire of loans that they can offer, right?
It is.
Yeah,
Like, I'll understand. We don't use LTVs, but I translate that into what that is in a reverse mortgage. So somebody taking my course who's brand new to the industry, they might have some acronyms that I throw around kind of freely that they're not fully following yet.
yeah,
But
yeah.
an originator who's been in the industry at least a year, they keep up with my training.
There are a lot of acronyms, that's for sure.
Fun.
Well, cool. So yeah, so the coaching thing, super exciting. Obviously, you're going to continue to build that. You've got a tremendous following. And when you mentioned the Brokers Are Better group, that was a Facebook group, but you yourself have a big Facebook following. I see socials. I see when you put something of value out there, you get a lot of people that comment on it. So at the very end here, we'll tell people how they can reach you. But so let's kind of go back to Christina. So you were a realtor, you originated loans, you went to San Diego State, you still live in that general vicinity,
Mhm.
right? Which I went to state too.
Go
Um,
Aztecs.
quite a bit before you. But and then from there, you were working with your dad, but then how did you transition? Because you're not working with your dad anymore,
Mm,
right? You
yeah.
guys are kind of competitors to some degree,
To some degree,
right?
yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
how did you make that transition from, okay, I'm no longer going to be on this team with Pops. I'm going to do something different. What was that like?
Yes, I think it's something that anybody who's worked with a parent probably has experienced, where I was ready to go 100 miles an hour, maybe even faster. And my dad was at a time where he was like, "We set something up, let's coast." And it just felt like I needed to spread my wings a lot bigger than what I could. And frankly, there were some things that I wanted to bring, and it just wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right audience. It just wasn't. Um, I felt like I had more to offer than was being allowed for. So at that point in time, I said, okay, well, I'll do my own team. And I became C2's top producer for a long time. And then eventually I was like, okay, some of the problems that I couldn't fix as managing this division, I still can't handle and deal with as an originator. So I moved on. And so eventually I landed here, which is my dream company. I mean, I can't tell you any other reverse people who are listening. It is very rare to find owners who understand and like the reverse mortgage product. So, Brad, you and Jamie, I mean, I wish she was here with us.
Yeah.
You guys are very unique, and having the experience and the backing is just so needed, right? We see a lot of forward companies start a reverse division. They don't understand. I talk to my friends and they're like, yeah, owners did what owners always do. Reputation risk scared them. They closed the division. I got to go find a new job.
Yeah,
And I'm
which
not
always
worried about that here.
yeah, that always concerned me that there is this reputational risk. And that's why, I mean, I don't even know how long it's been now, 15 years, Bank of America got out of reverse. And then all the banks got out of reverse mortgages. And they cited, not openly, not, but they cited internally, it's reputational risk. What if it goes wrong? Now, granted, there was a really bad stigma for reverse mortgages for a long time. And I feel like we've kind of crested out of that. Maybe we can talk about that for a moment. But that stigma came from it being originally an insurance product. And there was a time at the very beginning, and this goes back way, way, way back, even before FHA, came in and developed a similar product, where there was a time where the insurance company could take the house away. This happened way before the current product. So for those people that still think that, and when I was still originating and I was originating reverse loans, that was brought up constantly by the borrowers. Like, no, I don't want to lose my home. Well, where did they get that information from? That's legacy information from so long ago. So there's a lot of education that has to take place. Is that something today that originators still have to deal with?
Oh, yeah, because even though there's the old products and the old book of business, which is pretty much closing off the books, right? Those borrowers are passing. There is still something called a charitable life estate. And what that is you actually do sell the ownership of the home, but you can live in it until you pass. And then the charity takes it. And so people get these concepts confused, and it's like, no, no, no. A reverse mortgage is just a mortgage, which is a lien on title. You're still the owner. I can't believe how often we still hear
So
that.
are these financial planners that are pitching that product? Are these insurance agents? Like, I got to be honest with you, that's not something I'm familiar with. I'm familiar with the old reverse product that was called a reverse mortgage, but it was an insurance product. They just called it that. It was not in brochures that way, but that's how it was described. But what you're describing right now is an existing product. Who
Mhm.
sells that?
Charities, churches,
Ah,
what is I don't know the designation, but nonprofit organization, charitable organizations have
interesting.
these programs. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I've even heard it for like a facility, like a nursing home kind of thing. Let us own your house when you're done living there and it sells, you're gonna come and live here and we get the profits.
Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so very, and then we do hear the private market has some weird things going on. Sometimes parents and children decide to try to set things up privately, and it just makes the whole space a little more confusing. And
Yep.
it's like, no, we're talking about the FHA government backed insured product. And that's a reverse mortgage. That's the most common of today.
Yeah, yeah, and it is, and it's the one that you're educating people on and that sort of thing. But I'm certain in your coaching that you tell them about these other products that are out there so that they can eh, answer those questions the right way and address those concerns. So, with that said, yes, maybe we're unique. Maybe you know, knowing reverse mortgages is unique as an owner or previous originator. Um, but I just see this as such a beneficial product. Like I said, I've put a lot of people in it. I put my parents in it when they were in a home and needed that because I was supporting them and they had lots of equity. There was no reason for me to. Um, but it was a great experience. And everybody that I've put in one of these has had a terrific experience. So for us as a company, when we kind of met you and we started to talk about this idea of growing this division, we had it kind of bookmarked because we knew it was something we wanted to do, but we didn't have the bandwidth to do it. So the name Reverse Loan Solutions, the website, like it was one of those scenarios like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. And there you are. Then you came. It's like, okay, hey guys, I love what you started here. Can I build it? So let's talk about your vision there because this really is, you are the divisional president. You are building this thing. We're just getting started, but we've got tremendous momentum. Tell our audience, especially those that are in mortgage, that are loan originators that are thinking about doing more reverse, or maybe they're at a place where they're doing reverse. They don't feel the support that they should have. They're considering making a change. What is it that you're building, and why should people reach out to you if they want to be a part of it?
Oh, because this is the future. We are building something that is, first of all, I'm really excited the software we're about to unveil. Very unique. We can't find that anywhere else. It's a sales software to make it easier for the originator. One of the problems we see, and our audience probably has experienced this, we'll have loan officers who are either too afraid to start reverse and don't know where to go to learn it, or maybe they get one or two under their belt, having an AE do all the work, and then they get a hard one. And they're like, oh no, what do I do? And so I've seen it all because I've worked with a lot of forward loan officers coming into this space, doing well in this space. So what we're building here is the best of both worlds. Most of the time, in order to get a higher split, you have a very bare bones company in the broker world, right? We're talking wholesale here. Then if you're in the retail side, well, you probably have a much lower commission split, right? That's pretty much across the board. You're also captive. And one of my deep, deep core beliefs is that in order to do right by the borrower, which I'm all about, these are seniors, they're a protected class. So, anybody listening, if you're just going to go try willy nilly to do a reverse mortgage, know that you're risking what your reputation. You can come on down by the CFPB. So, I don't want to scare anybody, but I do want you to approach this with the appropriate reverence that it deserves. And that's what we're building here is, yes, you have to learn this stuff. Here's an easy way to do it. And we have higher splits for it. And so we've the vision is beautiful. So we're marrying the coaching company with reverse loan solutions and the forward loan officers. And so you can pick your path, right? If you're a forward loan officer and you hate having to refer loans out, well, keep them in house. You don't have to do them yourself, but you can still get paid on them. Or you're a forward loan officer and you want to get into the space. Well, how do I start? Why don't you access the $20,000 of coaching free by coming with our company? These are
That's a big
coaching
deal.
packages. It's huge. People are like, do we have signing bonuses? I'm like, I mean, sort of. The coaching packages that you get access to is worth
That's
20,000.
a signing, but no, that's worth way more than that.
Yeah.
If you think about the career that you're able to develop.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that
Yeah.
so that is, look, let's talk about that just for a split second here. That is a huge deal. So somebody comes in to Reverse Loan Solutions, whether they've got, and by the way, you said something, I think we need to coin this, the old pick a pay product. Remember the pick a pay, the negative amortization product that was out there? Union Bank had it, Coast Federal Savings had it. And it was the thing that got a lot of people in trouble pre-meltdown.
Yeah.
You've
Pick
got
your
the pick a
payment. I
path.
do
You've
remember
got
that.
to, yeah, pick a payment. You've got to pick a path,
Yeah.
right? So you're giving options. So, but for somebody to come in with no experience,
Mhm.
they've got the ability to begin making income on this, but have a mentor to take them through and coaching to learn. And as they acquire more knowledge through your coaching program that you're making part of this, they move up the scale. So I think it's fantastic. When you first introduced this to us, to Jamie and I, we were ecstatic. We said, this is amazing, because there is not a big enough pool of knowledgeable reverse loan officers to really do justice to the borrowers that are out there, to the number of borrowers, the sheer number. Maybe talk about that for a moment. How many people are in a position today and in the future to get a reverse mortgage?
Well, for point of reference, the millennial population is what the Ford originators kind of focused on, right? It's a large population. It's 75 million. And oh my God, that's where all of our home buyers are coming from. 76 million. The boomers are 75 million. And like our society kind of does, they just forget the old people. And it kills me because that is a huge opportunity. These people already own their home. 90% of boomers do not want to move. 1 in 4 new home buyers will be a senior. And we have the reverse for purchase product. Well, is a senior currently. There's 13 billion in credit card debt across this country. Now, that's not just seniors, but seniors hold a lot of that. Now, this is just seniors. There's 12 trillion in home equity held among the senior population, coupled with the fact that if somebody makes it to 60 years old, 1 in 4 is likely to make it to 90. Then add on the fact that 10,000 people turn 62 every single day,
There you
and
go.
they're woefully inadequately prepared to pay for 30 to 40 years of retirement after having worked for 20 to 30 to 40 years. No generation has ever faced anything like this. And a lot of them feel like failures, which is like mind blowing to me, because it's like, how could you have possibly saved up enough? And like some people will, and they'll invest perfectly, and they'll be able to have the millions that it will take to get through their retirement in one piece. The medical events, the falls, the roof that needs done. There's so many unexpected things that happen in retirement that are very expensive. One more stat I want to throw in there. At retirement age, the average American homeowner, their biggest asset is their home, and it accounts for 83% of their overall wealth. But financial planners don't typically look at that because they've been trained not to. So in
Yeah.
the future, I think we're going to see lawsuits against financial planning companies saying, hey, how did you ignore my biggest asset when this reverse mortgage product could have helped me?
Yeah.
And the data's there. It really does help.
Do you know what that percentage is of the 300,000 seniors turning 62 every month? 300,000. That's a few prospects. What percentage of those could benefit from reverse mortgage? Because not everybody. I mean, there are people that are financially savvy through their lives, that have assets and that sort of thing. It doesn't mean everybody needs one. but do you have an idea of what percentage of those really not only could qualify, but really, really need one, like to change their lives?
I don't know that stat. I wish I did. I can look it up, but I do know that we only have a 4% market penetration, which means there's 96% of people who are in the situation to qualify for a reverse mortgage, and likely they don't know about it, period. We have a lot of prospects that have no idea what it is. They've heard something bad and they haven't even looked into it, or they just keep struggling trying to keep their mindset what it was in their 40s, but now they're in their 60s.
Yeah.
And they really need to change to their mindset to more of a fixed income mindset, frankly.
Well, I've got a personal opinion on this, and this is not fact. Okay, I haven't looked it up. This just comes from it's my opinion, but I think it's more than 50%. And I say that because if you extrapolate out just everything we know from being originators, from being mortgage originators, everything we see from people of all ages, how they treat credit, how they treat their debt, what their likelihood of repayment is, what they go through with bankruptcies and charge-offs and all sorts of things. We see it all, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, typically you see somebody that doesn't have their financial house in order when they're young. They also don't have it in order when they're older. But like you said, their number one asset is their home. And so before anything else gets paid, they pay their house. And so you can qualify for a reverse mortgage even with bad credit, right? We can talk about
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
And with your financial house not in order, as long as you meet the minimum criteria that you need to, the age, the equity, and there's one calculation you have to do, right? And then there's one that determines whether or not you have reserves, which is what forward loan officers would know the name of. But maybe talk about that just for a moment, because the opportunity is extraordinary. No credit unions, no banks offer reverse mortgages. The landscape for those mortgage companies, whether they're bankers or brokers that have divisions or even individual loan officers that do reverses, are really, really small. It's a small pool. There's only 200 of you CRMPs out there. That's like spotting a unicorn in the desert. So, I mean, you're talking about a giant opportunity with a very small pool of people to assist with it, right?
Mhm.
So
One
what does it take? So that's my theory. I think it's more than 50%. So if that's 150,000 people a month that turn 62, this is let alone those that are older and, in the homes already, they're 70, they're 80 and they need help. But this is just the new market, like making them aware that this is an opportunity to make it easy for them in their retirement. What does it take to qualify?
It's more than to fog a mirror like it used to be. So one of the things you said was, there are qualifying standards. They are easier. We don't care about the FICO score. Now, on some of the proprietary or the jumbo products, which those exist, they're not all FHA. Some of those do have higher credit requirements. But the thing about reverse that I love is that, like I said, the underwriters, the whole industry was not born from the forward world. And so they're born out of a need to help seniors, right? Reagan signed this thing into law in 1989 because then it was like it is now, where seniors are cash poor but equity rich. And so this came into being for a need, and the need has just extrapolated. Um, oh my God, did I just draw a blank?
It's all right. The need look, the whole thing is
Okay.
accelerated because there's not enough lenders that are out there. There's not enough originators, and there's all these people that do qualify. But what I was trying to get at is, yeah, it's you don't need to I mean, you can't just fog a mirror and get the loan, but it is really far easier than a forward mortgage. Far, far easier. So
Can I go on that?
yeah,
Because
go for it. The equity, go ahead.
you're right. You're absolutely right. On a forward mortgage, if you have equity, you can't hypothetically use it, right? You have to actually show draws and actually, on a reverse mortgage, not only do you not have to have a credit score, you can have pretty bad credit. And if you're with somebody who understands how to work with that, like me or our team or anybody who's been through my coaching stuff, you know how to get this stuff through in a way that makes sense. So the underwriters are not from the forward world, and the underwriters in reverse seem to have more of a heart. They seem to be looking for, how can I make this work? And so as an originator, trained to work with them and say, okay, I know what they're looking for and what we need to present, right? There's a lot of life events. And if you understand what's going on and present this as a one time thing, I think in the forward world, there is extenuating circumstances and situational things that they say, tell us, but I don't, in my experience, they didn't really care.
Yeah.
If you don't meet the criteria, you're not getting a loan. That's not the case in reverse. I am always so grateful when the underwriters actually understand my client's situation. And, we have things like so and so's husband passed away at a time where they had a heart attack and their children were trying to come in and help. And one of the bills got missed. And oh my God, we've never been late on anything before, but now we have. And we still need this loan. And the underwriters look at it with a little more of a heart. It's not as hard fast as no, you can't get it. And that's one of my problems with retail, right? Retail is a numbers game. They tell people they don't qualify when they indeed do qualify. It's just the loan officers aren't trained well enough to understand how they qualify.
Well, they
Um,
also don't have choices. There are other lenders that
True.
may be a little bit more lenient than they are, and they don't have
Yeah.
the choice like a broker does. But what about on the income side? What's needed?
Oh, so much easier. We are looking to make sure that they can pay their taxes and insurance, which is a requirement of the loan. If they have an HOA, we do a utility square footage calculation, calculate their credit debts, and then you can actually use the home equity. So the reverse mortgage proceeds can be hypothetically turned into a monthly amount. And why shouldn't it be able to do that? And we can do that with assets too, right? On the forward side, you actually have to turn on their monthly payments to count it and prove that. In reverse, we don't. Why would we need to? The people, they don't need to have this monthly amount. It's there for them, whether they decide to draw it once a year or every month. They don't care. The money's there. And again, using the home equity, that line of credit that grows, that can never be frozen, that lasts the entire time they have the reverse mortgage, like it is just such an incredible product and it helps for qualifying. And we can pay off. I mean, you can't pay off debt through closing, but you can, if you know what you're doing, you can hypothetically pay off the debt. Now that's news to some people who haven't come to America and reverse loan solutions, people who haven't taken my coaching courses. You've probably turned down some reverse mortgages that could have gone through.
Yeah. Look, you get that from reading 180 pages of guidelines. Not everybody does that, Christina.
Yeah.
So, look, it's obvious that you are a wealth of knowledge for reverse mortgages. You're also a big advocate, and you're a leader. You're a leader in the space. You're a thought leader. You're a leader and a mentor. And we are like beyond excited to be embarking on this journey with you. And like we talk about, even every milestone we've made to date, we say we're just getting started because we are. I mean, we've got a long ways to go so that we can reach this 150,000 new seniors that need a reverse mortgage. Nobody else is doing it. So how can people reach you if they're interested in your coaching? I know you're doing an event. By the time this airs, this event that's coming up next week will be done, but you got another one, I think, in October. So maybe just plug that for a minute. But how can people reach you? How can they learn about your coaching? How can they learn about what it may be like to come aboard to Reverse Loan Solutions and be part of a founding team? And then, like I said, mention your coaching event coming up in October.
Yeah, real simple. Let's throw my email out there. If you're looking to come aboard a company, please email us. We want to talk to you. Christina, spelled with a CH, Christina.Harmes at reverseloansolutions.com. The easiest way to make sure that you're in the know of everything we're doing is get into my Facebook group. Now, this is a group only for licensed originators. So if you are not a licensed originator, email me. We have a separate group that you can join for information. But for originators, it's just search the groups Reverse Mortgage Coach is the group. It's green and gold. And I think we have 1,400 members at the moment.
Wow.
And it's really cool. People come there and post their questions, whether you're a newbie saying, one was in there just the other day and it was like a really basic question. And people don't berate. They're not allowed to. I'm very hard on that. I'm like, you will be nice in here. And so all these originators come in and answer. And so you see these just really supportive community grouping of reverse loan officers, which that's another challenge we face because there's not that many reverse loan officers out there. A lot of them feel on an island, like they don't have a community. They don't have a place to ask questions and understand the whole landscape, right? You can ask your one AE, can you guys do this? But unless you send out all the emails to all the AEs, you may not have the time, capacity, or the awareness of what's possible.
Well, you may
So
not even know all the wholesale lenders that do these,
true.
frankly, right?
Frank, yeah, good
We
point.
learned of a new one the other day that even you hadn't heard of before,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, okay, so great. That's your email. If you're an originator, go to the Facebook group. If you're a consumer or somebody else that's not a licensed originator, I guess you can even go to reverseloansolutions.com and look you up. You've got your own
Absolutely.
page in there and all your contact information. And then what about October?
October. So we are doing an event. We haven't set the date fully yet, but in October, we're going to be doing an actual boot camp event for loan officers who want to get into the space. I've been asked for a boot camp event for like 5 years now. And I finally said, okay, the time is now, right? We have time. Forward loan officers, I hear you thinking, oh, but I'll do it once my business picks up. Now is the time. You need to invest in this knowledge so that when business picks up, when rates come down, you have it under your belt.
Yeah.
I've seen it all. When rates go down, you're doing the refis. If you didn't invest in the knowledge while you had time, a lot of the time you let those reverses pass you by, and you
Yeah.
shouldn't.
And look, if you want to separate yourself as an originator, you want to separate yourself out from all the forward originators that are out there, all the companies, the retail, consumer direct, Rocket, all these big companies, because when rates come down, they hit it harder than anybody, right? They're all your competition. If you want to limit your competition and do something really, really good for people and that'll warm your heart, learn reverse mortgages, make it a part of your career. You may find out that it becomes your entire career. I know several, and Christina and I have talked about this, reverse mortgage people that created a career, never did a forward mortgage, only reverse for decades. And they were known to do that. And you create a name like that, they just start coming to you. So we're here to help breed that, the next generation of reverse originators, and you're the one that's going to do it. So we're
We're going to
excited.
take that market penetration from 4% to 14% in the next 3 years. We
That's
have
the
to.
goal.
The market needs it.
That's right.
And we need loan officers to do that. We're lowering the bar on what it takes to become a reverse loans officer.
Yep. And we're making it really easy with your program. So, hey, I really enjoyed this. Of course, I miss Jamie today. She does ask a final question that I am going to say for her, but this isn't usually her question. She likes to know, and I'm going to catch you by surprise, but I think you're going to do just fine. She likes to know if you were going to talk to your younger self, like your 18-year-old self, before you actually started mortgage, but maybe your 15-year-old self, and you could whisper in her ear today, what advice would you give?
Oh, um, I would say be consistent. I didn't learn to be consistent until I was mid 20s. And so what I mean by that is pick your focus. Don't start learning reverse a little bit. Don't start learning like I was a realtor. I was a forward mortgage loan officer, as a first time buyer specialist. And I kind of bounced around till I figured out what I really had the passion for. Uh, and I don't know how much time I could have saved. I did it kind of quickly, but even in my career now, consistency is the most important thing. And I see it, for anybody else listening, you probably understand that, right? I did some reverse and I focused on it, and then squirrel, rates went down and I did a bunch of forward loans. And so it's just don't lose that consistency. Keep the consistency. That's where the momentum's build. That's where you become the face of reverse.
I love it. I love it. That's you saying that, and on the forward side, our national director of sales, Brian Shields, says the same thing all the time. He says, focus on one thing and just keep doing it. Keep doing it. It will come. It will happen. Don't lose focus. So thank you so much for spending the time today. And we look forward to seeing you in the office again sometime soon. I know it's a little bit of trek for you, but this was great, even to meet virtually online here. And thanks for coming on our pod.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Get Real 411 is hosted by Brad Rice and Jamie Kavanaugh, produced by Stuart Jellin, and recorded live from the AmeriFund Home Loans studio in Simi Valley, California. You can learn more about the show at getreal411.com and watch full episodes on YouTube. If you're interested in being a guest on Get Real 411, email booking@getreal411.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.